Hey everyone, this is Kev. Welcome to a Dark Souls 2 playthrough. I haven't played this game in about 2 months. So rusty is not even the word. I'm recording post-commentary for a change, because I wasn't confident enough about my ability to play the game and do commentary at the same time. I feel like that may actually hinder me quite a lot in my performance. So that won't be happening, and because it's post-commentary, I may leave some bits quiet while the character's not really doing a lot. But that's about it for the intro. I'm basically... Actually, no, it's not it for the intro at all. I'm playing through Dark Souls 2 again from scratch, so I can get up to the point where the DLC is going to start. And I know from reports that the DLC is going to be accessed by going into the back of the Primal Bonfire room by the Rotten. So technically I only have to get to there. I'm probably just going to use this playthrough to go all the way up to near enough the final boss, and then go back and do the DLC once I'm there. So I'm calling the character Hexy, because I'm going to go with the Hex build. I haven't obviously played this game in 2 months, which means I haven't speedrun it in, I guess, even longer. Yeah. But I tried to do some speedrunning strats throughout this, and I will point out the parts where I completely forgot what I was supposed to do, and the parts where I remembered eventually. The funny thing about taking 2 months off of a Souls game, I've come to realise, is that you forget a lot of the minutiae. You remember the basics. Like, I can still remember how to use all of the buttons, like, I know all the controls, I know all the timings for most of the attacks. That stuff is fine. It's like the numbers. The stats I need at certain points during a speed run, the abilities I need at certain levels to equip certain spells, things like that is what I completely and utterly forgot, and got very confused on several points throughout this video. So this is like an hour long, and it has me go through from the start of the game up to... I do all of the woods, I do all of the... up until the end of the Pirate Cove, and then I go to the Lost Bastille and take care of the Ruined Sentinels. And then there's a little bit of levelling up after that as well. So first things first, I've always got to start off every game, unless I'm speedrunning, by taking on Mr. Troll. Because why wouldn't you? He gives you a nice couple of items, specifically the Stone Ring, which isn't going to be that useful to me in this playthrough because I'm playing magic primarily. But the thing I do with my playthroughs when I'm not speedrunning is, even if I'm playing a Hex build, I tend to have dual maces, or rather a mace and a club, and I level them up to somewhere in the region of +4 and +3. And that took me a while to remember actually as well, but I'm obviously in post-commentary I know. But at +4 and +3 on 2 blunt weapons, the Ruined Sentinels become incredibly simple. And that's why I always do that. And it's not just the Ruined Sentinels, it's any enemy that really has armour. So when a Dragon Riders come along later, that'll be useful. And Mirror Knight as well is made a lot more simple with double clubs. So that's the troll done. I've picked up the Stone Ring, got my torch, lit the first bonfire. Gonna skip all of the beginner stuff, all the tutorial bits, and then run straight through to Majula. And there's that scenery. Especially on PC, I love the way that looks, but even when I played the review copy on PS3, I was just blown away by that initial reveal of Majula. I was not expecting something this bright in a Souls game. At least not this early in the game. I mean, obviously in Dark Souls 1 you have your Anor Londo reveal, but you gotta put some work in to get to that the first time around. I'll be going through back through Dark Souls 1 at some point as well, probably after I do the DLC for this.
Are you?
Because I want to go back through Dark Souls 1 anyway. I still prefer Dark Souls out of the 2. I guess even out of the 3, I actually prefer Dark Souls to Demon Souls as well. So I definitely want to go back through that again at some point and just have a fun playthrough where I don't necessarily speed run it. I just pick a class that I enjoy, probably Sorcerer, and then just have some fun going through Dark Souls again. And it's been even longer since I've played through Dark Souls, so I'll be even rustier, which should be interesting. So obviously you get to Majula, and the first thing you want to do is go and get that Estus Shard. I always like to do that straight off the bat. And then straight up around the corner here to join the Champions Cut. No, no, I'm just getting the Homeward Bones. They're important. The way I've always played the start of this game is to rely quite heavily on Homeward Bones, especially in the Forest of the Fallen Giants, just because it speeds the whole process up so much. So I like to make sure I've got those 5 there.
Gonna
have a word with the wench.
There is to see light. However,
get that Estus Flask upgrade. The one thing that still annoys me about the PC version, even 2 months later, is that mouse cursor that hangs around in the centre of the screen whenever you're in a menu. Really irritating. Now at this point, I couldn't remember which stats I'm supposed to put up, and it's only 1 point that I can put on, so I thought, well, I know Faith's got to go up, because at some point, I want to be able to throw lightning spears, like early on. So I know I need a Faith of something high. And although I know the number now after playing through, I didn't know at the time that I needed 22 faith for that. I just knew I needed more faith, so I thought that was the safest place to put that singular point. No need to go and buy a shield just yet. I didn't have enough souls anyway, because I always like to get the kite shield, which is 1,500 souls, and obviously I only have 1,000 there. So we're just dual-handing... not necessarily dual wielding, but dual handing a mace for the time being. And we're going to roll on down to the Fiery Tower. Hade's Tower of Flame. Which honestly is one of my favourite areas of the game. Not just in terms of the way it looks, because it does look stunning, especially that initial reveal again, but I really enjoy fighting the giant knights there. I've always had a good time with these guys, and on my first interesting story that I may not have actually said before, my first ever playthrough of this game when I was playing for review, this is the first direction I went. Now obviously, the critical path is that you would go down into the Forest of Fallen Giants. A little bit of a mess up there, but 2 out of 3 successful dodges. Yeah, the critical path is to go into the Forest of Fallen Giants first. I didn't do that because I didn't see the path. So I came straight here, and obviously, when you're not used to the controls in this game, or the way it controls rather than the actual controls, because for those who've played both of the Souls games, or both Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, near each other in terms of a time frame, you'll know that they handle quite differently, especially in terms of the dodge rolls and the timings and things. So playing through Dark Souls 2 for the first ever time and coming straight here was especially against this guy, was a little bit of a nightmare. And I quickly realised that this probably wasn't the way I was supposed to go, but that didn't stop me from powering through and getting to the Dragon Rider, doing him in, and then it was the Pirate Cove that completely, yeah, that was where I decided, alright, I'm going to go back and see if there is another way to go, and then I eventually found the forest. But yeah, Hade's Tower of Flame is just one of my favourite areas of the game. I love it. I can't even remember the last time I did a playthrough and pulled up those levers. Or fought Dragon Rider in an actual fight. I will glitch him here, because... Well, no, it's not a glitch. It's using his own stupidity against him. I insist upon that. But most people know this trick at this point. It's a classic speedrunning trick. You just hang around on the right-hand side here, and as soon as he gets his foot onto that line, run, and yeah. His first attack at that time will always be a lunge, and he always lunges off the side. Obviously, you have to ensure that you haven't pulled up any of the rings. Now, at this point, I know that I want to kill Lizia. Well, I want to buy a Lightning Spear spell from her, which I probably should have done there, to be honest. But I wasn't thinking straight at the time, because, as I say, it's been a while. Everything's a little bit flippity-floppity in my head. But I know I want to kill her, so I can get the Dragon Chime. It's probably the chime that I will use throughout the whole rest of the playthrough. So I know I want to do that, but I also know that she can be a complete pain in the arse when it comes to trying to knock her off the side. Her Wrath of God attack is just infuriating if you mess up that whole sequence. So you do have to be very time perfect when trying to knock her off the side, and I wasn't willing to risk that with souls still in my inventory. So that's why I've gone back to Majula to quickly expend some souls and make use of them before she inevitably kills me. So I leveled up Faith a bit more there, still not quite sure how much I needed for Lightning Spear, but then I did remember, well, I'm gonna need a shield. So head over to this dude and grab my kite shield. And then just a quick check to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Now, I have done playthroughs before where I've killed this guy at this point and taken his armor, or rather his clothing, because it is quite good. I mean, it increases the amount of souls you collect, but I've never been sure by how much. There's not really a discernible difference between when I've done playthroughs doing that and not doing that. So, yeah, I don't know what that bonus actually is in reality, but not enough for me to bother doing it this time.
Are you from these parts?
And now I'm remembering Lightning Spear. That's the thing I'm going to need, because I'm going to be using that throughout most of the game. When I play a Hex build, and it's kind of a Faith Hex build, obviously, because you need Faith to do Hexes anyway, but I tend to roll with 3 spells, and I need 5 slots for them, because 2 of them take up 2 slots each, and that's... I mean, if you play in a Hex build, you need to play with Resonant Soul and Great Resonant Soul. Those are essential. I also like to have Lightning Spear as my 3rd spell, because it's useful. It's still a really decent range spell, and it doesn't require soul expenditure, so that makes it... I don't want to say... Well, it's definitely not better than Resonant Soul or Great Resonant Soul, but it's a nice backup plan if you run out of souls to use on those spells. So there I was just thinking, have I got enough strength to use this shield? And that was me confusing this game with Dark Souls 1, because I know when I play in Dark Souls 1 with certain builds, I have to level my strength up a couple of points in order to equip the Green Crest shield. Oh man, now I'm starting to forget names of shields I actually like. I think it's the Green Crest shield, right? The stamina regen one? Anyway, that doesn't matter. Here we go. Killing Lizia. So you gotta give her 3 knocks on the noggin.
I've no choice now.
And then she'll stand up. Now what I did here was forget to stand to the right slightly, so I ended up hitting her towards the pillar, and that's usually an indication that this is not going to work. And at that point when you run out of stamina, you've maybe got 1 hit left, and fortunately she landed in a position where as she was standing up to do the Wrath of God attack, she fell over the side as part of her animation priority, so got lucky there. Was not expecting that to happen first time, but it did, and I'm thankful. And then I got the Dragon Chime, which I quickly realised, yeah, I need 25 faith to equip that, so not going to be using that anytime immediately soon. But what we will do is equip Lightning Spear into the slot, because I'm never going to use heal. Not because it's useless, just because I don't know, I guess I just don't use heal. I've got Estus Flasks and Life Gems, I've got bonfires all over the place. Heal is not that necessary, and I'd rather just get the attunement slot sorted out now. So, at this point, I decided that... If it sounds like I'm pausing a lot, by the way, it's because I'm in the middle of drinking water quite a lot as well, to try and keep my voice lubed up. Yeah, so I decided to use a bonfire ascetic here, so I could respawn the Dragon Rider. Obviously this makes everything in the area harder, and adds a couple of enemies. But it's useful at the start of the game, because as long as you know how to glitch the dragon, again I use the word glitch when it's not a glitch, as long as you know how to cheese the Dragon Rider, you can ascetic him as many times as you want and it won't be any more difficult. So, I mean, getting there is, but it can be done. Once you're in there, you just cheese him the same way you normally would do, and you get twice as many souls as you ordinarily would do, so it's nice. I found it difficult to avoid that Phantom's attack there, and he can be a bit of a pain in the arse, especially since he tends to attack offset with the other guy. But there you go, there's a Dragon Rider again, and the fact that I did that 2 out of 2 times without failing once actually surprised me quite a lot. Because it's very easy when you're out of practice to mess that up. You've got to be kind of inch perfect, and perfect with time as well. So, I was very happy about that. And now we're off back to Majula again to do a bit more leveling up. Burn that soul. There's no point in me keeping souls in this playthrough. Boss souls, I mean. So, they're all going to get burned. Might as well hit up that Sublime Bone Dust. Improve the Estus Flask a wee bit.
Bearer of the curse.
So already in this playthrough I've probably spent about, what, 50, 60,000 souls? And that's normal for when I was speedrunning. But, well, not even speedrunning, just like practicing the game basically. But I kept forgetting what stats I need, and I know I like to level up my adaptability to 10. I remembered that. Don't ask me why. I don't know if there's actually a difference between 4 and 10 that's viable. I just know I always felt more comfortable having 10 adaptability than 4 when it came to dodge rolling. And then I also whacked the faith up a bit there, and the intelligence a bit, because I know I'm going to have to go and speak to, oh god, I've forgotten his name. The Hex guy, at some point. And then I decided, let's go back to the Tower Flame, because I want more souls, and I haven't killed the Flexile Sentry in a long time, so I'm going to go and do that. The run down to the Flexile Sentry is one of the easier ones in the game. Once you know your way around the Pirate Cove, timings wise, it's really not that difficult. You need to know the exact route, the exact timings of the enemy positions, and then you're sorted. These guys are so easy to dodge. So slow and cumbersome. And off we go down the elevator. I did find myself speaking to Lucatiel, which we'll see in a minute, but I don't know why. Because I don't think I ever use her in any boss fight ever. But I think what I'm going to do with this playthrough is occasionally talk to the NPCs, just in case I want to use them in boss fights at some point. I can't remember if there's a boss fight I've ever wanted to use Lucatiel in, off the top of my head. Because off the top of my head, the only boss fights I can remember that I like to summon in are the final boss, Nashandra. I like to have one person summoned in that fight. I like to have someone summoned while I'm fighting the Lost Sinner, but yeah, it depends on that one. I could go either way. And I think that's it.
Don't hesitate.
It's really just those two bosses. Anyway, speak to Lucatiel, hit the bonfire, and now the No Man's Wharf run, which, as I say, is quick and easy as long as you've gotten used to it. That was a mess up. Obviously, I say it's quick and easy. I've obviously not done this for a while. That guy you have to wait back from, because otherwise he will land on you. But once he lands, you can just run past him while he's staggered. That guy chased me a bit more than he normally would do, but still no real threat. And as we get up here, I know that these things can be a little bit iffy. You gotta have really precise dodge roll timing for their arms, which I apparently managed to do. This room just runs straight up the stairs, no stopping, don't even wait for the camera. That guy hit me through the wall, which I would say doesn't normally happen, but it didn't really affect me too much. Just run off there, run down here. Couple of rolls down onto the floor. He won't follow you down. And then hang around at this part, because while the ship's coming in, we do not want those guys to come up over the pier. Now I did think, should I kill them? Because they're not hard. You can actually just hit them once and they'll fall off into the water and die. But I decided that I couldn't really be bothered. The ship was in. Just top up that life bar and then let's go and fight the Flexile Sentry. Now the trick to get into the Sentry is barely a trick at all. This part of the run is only difficult if you stop and fidget about. Because these guys will walk out of that door and 9 times out of 10 they won't even attack you. See? They won't even attack you until you hang around for a few seconds. So if you just let them walk out and then run past them, no threat whatsoever. And the reason I wanted to be able to use Light Spear is because Lightning Spear wrecks this guy. And I'm not 100% sure whether it's to do with just general weakness to lightning, whether Lightning Spear is just powerful for this point in the game, or whether the water must help maybe, because I know that water in this game actually enhances the damage of Lightning Spear a little bit. Maybe it's all of the above. I'm not sure. All I know is that Lightning Spear wrecks this guy. He's got a sliver of health left, and done. I decided to pick up the Pyromancy glove because why not? At some point I might use Pyromancy, I don't know. Now I'm aware that since I last played this game a patch has come out that actually nerfed some of the spells in the game, and I don't know which ones were affected off the top of my head. But I'm sure I remember a couple of them being Pyromancy spells. So maybe I'll use Pyromancy, maybe I won't. Chances are more towards the latter. I had to stop and see how people were dying in this corridor. And yeah, I was not disappointed by the comical death of someone just rolling down an enormous hole in the middle of a room. It's always fun in these games finding bloodstains in the most unlikely of places. Like, maybe you're in the middle of just a great big open field where there's no enemies around at any point, no traps, and yet there's a bloodstain there. I remember, interesting story, I remember when I first got online with this game, because the servers didn't turn online until after it came out, obviously. So while I was playing for review, I was stuck playing offline. And when I got into my New Game Plus and the game had actually released, so the servers were turned on, I walked into Majula for the first time, and the amount of bloodstains I found around the cliffside was insane. And I had to do it. I just walked around investigating all of them, watching everyone just fall off the cliff to their death. I don't know if they just fancied jumping off a cliff, or whether they thought they saw a secret, or I have no idea whatsoever. Maybe they couldn't control the character. Something crazy must have happened. Maybe they annoyed like the blacksmith by attacking him when he came after them. I don't even know if that's possible. I've honestly never attacked Lenegrast. But yeah, the amount of bloodstains around the cliff was insane. And even in the top left of this screen right now, I can see one there. Or a couple, in fact. Crazy. I don't know how people die in Majula. But I always enjoy watching their ghosts. Anyway, so by now I've remembered that I'm going to need to do some dual wielding of clubs at some point in this playthrough. So I've started leveling up dexterity to 8, and I know I need strength of 18 as well. And those numbers just came back to me kind of instantly once I remembered I needed to do it. Because you need the strength 18 to power stance both of the weapons. This bit I forgot. I knew there was a way to get down there without going over the bridge, and I couldn't remember exactly what the maneuver was, so then I just remembered, oh yeah, maybe it's just a run. And it turned out it was just run off the left of the... or run off the platform to the left of the bridge. And that human effigy is there. A nice thing about this area is that if you bonfire ascetic the bonfire down here, where I'm just about to go to, that chest I just got an effigy out of actually has 5 effigies in it the next time, and it'll refill with 5 effigies every time you ascetic that bonfire. And because it's only these guys around, it's not really that much of a threat. It's useful for late game if you need human effigies desperately. Although obviously you will need to get ascetics first. Oh, arrow to the head. Now this part coming up is always really tricky. I really hate doing this. 9 times out of 10 I will successfully do this, but always by the skin of my teeth. It's so easy for those guys to knock you out of the fog wall animation, because obviously, unlike in Dark Souls 1, you don't have invincibility frames while opening doors in this game. But the rest of that corridor is reasonably simple. This guy, you just run around up the ladder. You're done. You'll normally get hit twice. If you get hit a third time while not wearing armor, you will fall off the ladder. But usually 2 hits and you're up. So at this point, memory is kicked in, and I've remembered there's an Estus shard upstairs. And this door, while you would normally use the key from the giant to get through, it's one of the few doors in the game that you can actually just bash through with a weapon. I couldn't remember what all these items were, so I thought I'd pick them up, just in case. Turned out, nothing of real use. But this is what we came for. Mr. Estus Flask Shard. And you get the small white soapstone from it, but I'm not going to be using that at any point. Now this is where I remembered, oh yeah, I'm going to need grenades if I want to use the cheat. Well, again, I say cheat. It's not really a cheat. It's knowing the geometry and using it to your advantage. Yeah, that's what it is. Nah, it's pretty much a cheat. It's a speedrunning strat. And what you need to do is have enough souls. They're only 200 a pop, so you get a couple of grenades. I always buy 2 just in case the first one messes up, and I definitely did in this playthrough because I couldn't remember which part of the floor I was supposed to stand on. So I figured 2 chances to do this is better than 1. And I was just checking the price of the club so I can come back later to buy that. I know I'm going to need health for this part. I also know I'm going to need to equip the grenades, so got to do that. You can't throw them from the menu, you have to throw them like that. So I thought it was the 3rd square over. You look down, and it didn't work, so then I thought, well, maybe it is the 2nd square then. So move over to the 2nd square, throw down, and there you go. And for those who don't know, what happens there is the AoE attack of the hand grenade at that very point in the room actually reaches just far enough to hit a gunpowder barrel on the other side of the wall. Because you're supposed to open that shortcut from the other side. Now this bit I generally tend to just run straight into the left because I'm going for the boss. That guy was being a little nicer letting me through than normal. I forgot at that point that you're supposed to hang quite far to the right running past those guys, but then the strat here is to run up the sword until they get to you, then run straight down into the fog wall, and then you should get through before anyone gets to you. My problem there was I forgot that you can still mash buttons while at the fog wall, so I inadvertently mashed a button and it cancelled the wall animation, and suddenly I was stuck with 3 guys behind me. And that's something you never want. And that led to it all messing up, and then I got stun locked, and yeah. First death of the game. Was not happy about that. But fortunately, because of the shortcut, not exactly a long run back to it, so off we go. And obviously now I've got a couple more things in my head in terms of the strategy for this area, so always keep to the right is the part around here so that you're out of range of their spears. And do not mash the button as you're going through the thing. That's the other important thing. But another important thing to remember is take care of what direction you hit the stick when you're dodge rolling off of a sword, especially when there's an ocean on the other side. Second death of the game. Suffice to say, those were 2 deaths that were 100% my ineptitude, and I was not going to let that happen again. So this time we run, dodge, keep running, keep to the right here, up the sword. I'm going to pick this up even though I have no stuff to recover. He ran up really quick, which I wasn't expecting. That's why I got caught a little bit off guard there. But ultimately the strat worked out and I had enough time to get through the fog wall. Now you just sprint down to the door and open that, so you've got a shortcut back into this room from the bonfire. And down the elevator. They will never follow you down. And here I was just like, why? Why did I fail twice so miserably? Alright, off to do the first supposed boss of the game. I say supposed boss because I've already beaten 2 bosses at this point in this playthrough, but whatever. Last giant, here we go. Now, I forgot for a little while that the last giant, he is weak, or susceptible rather, to blunt attacks from clubs. That's why a lot of people start off as the cleric, because the mace is a great weapon against most of the early bosses. especially this guy. And he did clip me a bit there, which I also wasn't expecting. But he's also weak against something else. And that other weakness is lightning spears, and I completely forgot about that. Until probably around now-ish. Yeah, so now I'm pulling out lightning spear and going, oh yeah, that's right. Lots of damage, and you can fire at range if you want to. But obviously the real trick with this guy is to just, no matter what weapon you're using, just try and hang behind him, because that's where most of his attacks are going to miss. He'll occasionally do the stamping attack, he'll occasionally do the jump back, but those tells are pretty obvious. I got lucky there because he used a sort of stamp attack with his hand rather than swinging it in an arc, which would have really busted me up. And that's the last giant done. And this is a point where I usually homeward bone.
You again.
Now I'm going to get my club. Such an essential part of the playthrough. And I know I'm going to want some stuff at some point, so... we'll get into what that stuff is soon, but we're going to want a lockstone and a key. The key specifically because that unlocks the blacksmith. And now I'm going to go and use the lockstone. This area is really, really simple. Those guys caught me off guard quite effectively there. But this room's really simple. You just run straight in, run straight to the left, and you won't get caught by the devastating trap. And once you're downstairs, I've only ever had the hollows from upstairs follow me down here once. Only ever happened once, and it was only one guy that followed me down out of all of them. So I would say 99 times out of 100, they will not follow you down. And head into the secret room to pick us up a Titanite slab. Nice early game Titanite slab. And the Chloranthy ring, which I've done experiments with frame counts and stuff in this game when it first came out, and one thing I discovered is that the Chloranthy ring level 1 does not really do that much. In fact, it's barely noticeable. It's like you will recover your stamina maybe 1 or 2 frames faster than you would do otherwise, which is almost nothing. The Chloranthy ring plus 1 and the Chloranthy ring plus 2 are both items that really do increase that stamina regen to a noticeable extent, but Chloranthy ring standard is just like nah. Which is unfortunate, because obviously the Chloranthy ring in Dark Souls 1 was so good, and I guess overpowered, if you really want to argue. Alright, so now travel back to Majula and get some more levels sorted out. The target at the moment is to get strength up to 18.
Here to see.
I
However,
think I've got dex up to 8 right now. Might as well trade the shard in as well. But yeah, get strength up to 18 so that I can use the power stance with dual weapons. Which doesn't quite happen. But that's fine. Still got the Pursuer to beat first, and the Pursuer's reasonably easy if it all works out okay. And you'll see what I mean by that soon. Again, those of you that have watched Dark Souls 2 videos in the past will know what's about to happen with the Pursuer. I use a slightly different tactic than the standard. Most people parry him to get the cheese. I actually just dodge roll. But you'll see that in a moment. Just remember in there that it's actually quicker to get to him down the ladder. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so I decided that what I wanted to do first was actually go and unlock the mansion, which you obviously need the cartographer guy for. So I thought I'd go and rescue him first. Well, I say rescue. Talk to and gain his key, I guess. Remember that? Gotta remember that boulder. Even in my first playthrough, I was taking my time walking through there, so by the time the boulder rolled past, I couldn't get hit by it. I would be very interested to know if anyone's ever been hit by that boulder. I'm not even sure it's possible, but it'd be interesting if someone has actually died to it. And there's the house key. I was just about to run back when I thought, wait a minute, no, I've got Homeward Bones. Okay, so this time we're just going to run down the ladder, or slide down the ladder rather, sprint through here. I completely forgot the technique to get through this door. You're supposed to have stick to the left and dodge roll. I just ran straight through and hence got caught by spears. Then you use the door trick to open the door quicker than usual by rolling through it. It has to be a certain amount of the way through the animation, but it does work consistently. And it's useful for that area in particular. So here we go into the Pursuer. Now there are two tactics to do this guy in with the cheese. You can either go and stand between the barrel and the cart and parry him, thus stunning him long enough to do this. Or you can do what I just did there and stand just in front of the first barrel and dodge roll him. And there we go, Pursuer dead. Everyone knows how to do that by now, and even people who do it, like, some people do the dodge roll, some people do the parry. I'm sure there are other ways to do it as well. I'm convinced that everyone probably kills the Pursuer that way by now. He is actually quite fun to fight if you just want to straight up brawl with him. There's quite little more satisfying in this game than playing dodge rolls around the Pursuer's attacks, but at the same time, it can go very wrong very quickly because he is quite potent early on. And just why risk it? There's plenty of other things to do that aren't as difficult as that. So I always like to come over here and grab this. I remembered this was here. The large Titanite shard. Because that's going to be what gets one of my clubs up to +4. Now, I've never really done any testing with regard to the Ruin Sentinels with dual wields in terms of what the clubs need to be at in terms of levels. I'm using the words "in terms of" quite frequently at the moment, which is concerning me. Don't you just hate that? When you've said a certain word so many times and then you suddenly realise that you've been doing it and go, oh, I'm the worst person in the world. Yeah, I have not really done that much experimentation with what levels those weapons need to be at. I know the +4 and +3 work, so that's generally what I'll go with. But it could be that +3 and +3 work, it could be that 2 +2s work, for all I know. As I say, I've never really experimented. It is something I always intended to get around to, but never did. So, quick level up there. Now I'm going to go and open up the mansion to get the goodies inside. Since I got the house key off of Cartographer Man. The Skelly down here is super simple. Just dodge roll once and then you can pretty much annihilate him with a mace. See? Stagger with every hit. As long as you're two-handing it, obviously. Estus Flask Shard from there. Now, I'm 100% sure this used to be a Sublime Bone Dust. The last time I played it. But as I pick this up, it's 5 smooth and silky stones. That confused me. I am almost certain, I could be wrong, but I am almost certain that that was always Sublime Bone Dust when I was playing through this game regularly in its early stages. Like pre-review, pre-release, post-release, and up to 2 months ago when it came out on PC. I'm sure that was always Sublime Bone Dust. I could be wrong, I might be completely misremembering it, but yeah, that confused me a little bit. And still is right now. I've actually got the Dark Souls 2 guide. I bought it after I finished the game about 5 times. So not really that useful as a guide by then, but it's just a really pretty book. So I will have a look at that soon and see what it says is supposed to be in that chest. So we get Lenigrast back in the shop. And the idea now is to upgrade these weapons. I want the mace at +4 and the club at +3. I was just trying to figure out there how many Titanite shards I need to buy off of him. And all 10 was the answer. Interestingly, that would still leave me 1 short. And while I'm in these menus, I'm thinking to myself, what, don't I normally have an extra shard by this time? I'm sure I do. And I'm not sure where it comes from. So I just started reinforcing the weapons up, just while in the back of my mind I was still thinking, where does that extra shard come from? You see there, I've got 2 shards left and I need 3 to get the club to +3. So I'm still thinking to myself, where is it? I'm not 100% sure where that shard is. Have I missed it? Was there a chest somewhere that I should have got? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I remember where it is. Right, first things first, let's go and talk to Ladyface.
Here to see, however.
Get that Estus Flask upgrade. Get that Faith upgrade. And now let's go and get that Titanite shard. This is something I used to do if I was playing a non-speedrun playthrough, or I guess even if I was doing a speedrun playthrough. I would always come straight over here and grab this shard at the start. I completely forgot about it at this in this playthrough until now. Fortunately, as I was playing through in this hour of gameplay, several things came back to me just in the nick of time. Including that. So now I've got my +4 club, or my +3 club, and my +4 mace.
I'll be around if you...
Happy with that. And I should have the stats to dual wield them. There you go, power stance. You always know it's a power stance because the left weapon goes erect. Just like a penis. And now we're going to go and have a go at the Ruin Sentinels. Because I've leveled up all I can. I've bought everything I need to buy for the time being. It's Ruin Sentinels time. Now these guys, I have not heard a single person describe these guys as being easy on their first playthroughs. This is where I couldn't remember how to do the power hit, and then I did. And that was just a terribly timed dodge roll. Yeah, the Ruined Sentinels are a complete nightmare if you don't know the tricks to mess them around. Dual clubs is the, as far as I've been able to work out, the absolute easiest way to deal with them, because they pretty much can't get... If you do it right, and I'm not great at it, especially in this rusty state, but if you do it right, they should never hit you. They should never even have a chance to really attack you. Or maybe each one will get one chance to attack you and that's it. And because one single attack from one single sentinel is not that hard to dodge, you should technically never get hit. Again, it doesn't always work out that way, but it's within the realms of ease. So taking a shortcut to the sentinels by dropping down a staircase there, and then just... You want to walk around here without hitting sprint, because otherwise they will hit you. But as long as you're not sprinting, those guys take a while to notice you're there. So dodge, power hit, and straight into a stagger. Now the trick with this is, ideally you want to be hanging around behind them so that they can't... So that as soon as they see you upon recovery, they need to turn first. That gives you a little bit of extra time to play with. They'll go straight into attack if you're in front of them, or even slightly to the side. Another thing I forgot is this is the worst place to stand for this next guy, because then you have to spend time running up to him. And the other thing to remember is that you can't just spam the attack animation. You need to wait for them to almost recover. When you get that last hit in, they need to have fully recovered from their animation. And because of my mess-ups there, which was basically like, A, I got hit, which didn't help, and B, I waited in the wrong spot for the second guy. The third guy had time to get up there at the same time, and that shouldn't happen in an ideal world. But you see the strategy there. It's as simple as one at a time, keep them stun locked, and just as the next one comes up, evade, stun lock. Keep hitting until dead. Next one comes up, evade, stun lock. Keep hitting until dead. And if you do it perfectly, you should never get hit, and they should only have one attack each. So up the ladder again, going around that corner, making sure not to sprint. And in for try number 2 with the Ruined Sentinels. That was a good start. Now that was bad. I had not remembered at that time that you really do need to get in behind them between every hit in order to stop them going straight into attack animations. And the ideal place to stand while the second guy comes up is on that corner there, so I'm just going to maneuver the character over and hang around. Now when he jumps up, he should do an arc, but it should completely miss. And then it's just a simple case of stun lock and keeping it easy. He did get a hit in there, and the other guy did get up, but still alive. So avoid attack. This was a little bit of improvisation here. Had to avoid more attacks than I would like. And then he fell off, which didn't help. I could have gone down to the floor, but decided not to. Rather stay in control and wait at the top. And now I remembered, oh yeah, you're supposed to stay behind them. And there you go, Ruined Sentinels over and done with. That, for me, is the absolute easiest way to handle the Ruined Sentinels. Some people swear by a magic run-through, like hexes or whatever. Some people will go into these secret chambers and just kind of wind them around and split them up, taking down one at a time, piece by piece. I don't know, there's tons of different ways to deal with them. I think every single one of those is harder than that, personally. And grab some bones. That's really what I came up here for. Hop over to the balcony, and that's about it. You need to make sure you sprint through here, obviously, to dodge the suicide bomber. There he goes. And then that's it for combat, really. If you came to this video just to watch fighting, then I guess skip to part 2 at this point. Or wait for part 2 to come out, depending on what time frame you're watching it in. Because right now, all I'm going to be doing is adjusting some stats. Get my level up on. Although the first thing you want to do before leveling up during this kind of playthrough is go and make sure you've got the hex stuff you need. Specifically the 2 spells you're going to be using for the rest of the game. Now, in terms of what I'm going to do next for this playthrough, in the next video, I think I'm going to go through... I think I'm going to go through the Huntsman's Copse, which is where I'm heading to now, and just run straight through to the end of that spoke. So, finish the old Iron King. That would be what I would normally do in a speedrun. So, yeah, and equip the Ring of Blades there just because I forgot to do it beforehand. It's useful for the few times I'm going to be using clubs. This guy's talking to me, of course, because I've got 8 intelligence and 8 faith. So he's willing to actually accept that I'm a human being worthy of him speaking to. And you want to get Resonant Soul and Great Resonant Soul if you're going down this particular build.
Come again, as you like.
They're not too expensive. And I couldn't remember at this time how much faith and intelligence I needed to convince him to give me his armor.
No matter, the time will come.
But obviously I haven't got the intelligence just yet. So light the Copse bonfire and then head back to Majula for now. If I remember rightly, I need 16 intelligence and 16 faith to get his robes.
Bearer of sea less.
And I don't want all of his robes, I really just want his hat. It's just nice to have. Now this next part I kind of messed up. I should have done what I'm looking at now and got 3 slots in my attunement. But I completely forgot the Resonant Soul takes up 2 slots, so what I instead did was start building up intelligence and only allowing myself 2 slots in attunement. That was a mistake, because that means I can now only equip Resonant Soul and not Lightning Spear and Resonant Soul. That's going to make the Skeleton Lords a little more infuriating than they normally would be, but I don't know. I mean, at the time of recording this, I haven't done that yet, so we will see. But that was a schoolboy error on my part. And it's just occurred to me, it wasn't Sublime Bone Dust that was in that chest down the bottom, was it, in the mansion? I'm actually almost 100% sure now that it was a respec thing. They must have changed that in a patch. Yeah, that's really weird. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I'm going to wrap this up now. So, what have we done? We killed Lost Giant, or Last Giant, Pursuer, Dragon Rider, Flexel Sentry, and the Ruined Sentinels. Most of the way towards the minimum level ups that I need. Got a couple of hexes ready to go. Yeah, pretty much everything is on its way. Not a perfect run so far, but certainly not bad given that I'm rusty as hell. But until next time, see you later.